And we actually now have a tornado warning that has just popped up here as we take a look at Storm Scan 3. This is for Newcastle County, Delaware. Just popped up. I just heard it come across. That goes until 6:15 tonight. So I'm actually going to step over and run the computer so you can see what we're looking at with this tornado warning. It is with the same cell that we've been watching, moving across Chester County, moving through portions of Newcastle County now. Again, these are areas that got hit very, very hard from Isaias. In fact, this area, Newcastle County, actually had a long-track tornado with Isaias, and a tornado warning, as we said, has just been issued with this storm over Newcastle County, Delaware. So let's zoom in on this area and we'll take a look at what we're looking at here, which areas are under this tornado warning. And this is a very, very busy stretch of highway right now. This is right along I-95, right along 495. This does include the city of Wilmington, Delaware, in a tornado warning currently. If you are in Newcastle County, Delaware, northern Newcastle County, from Claymont down toward Wilmington, seek shelter immediately. A tornado warning is in effect with this storm that is moving on through. Let's pull that back up so you can see what we're looking at here. I'm going to take the lightning off so we can see the actual shape of this storm. And here's what we're watching. The center of this storm moving about 15 miles an hour right through the area. So here are the spots that are going to be impacted shortly. Greenville by 6:08, Tavistock by about 6:13. The city of Wilmington, we're looking at right around 6:22, Edgemore by 6:30, Carney's Point at 6:41, and Perkintown at 6:47. A very, very dangerous storm. It's moving east at about 15 miles per hour. I'm going to pull up some information here on that particular cell. If you're just joining us, a tornado warning has been issued for Newcastle and portions of Chester and Delaware County. So it's south central Chester County, southwestern Delaware County, and northeastern Newcastle County. It goes until 6:15 actually. This is a tornado with radar indicated rotation. It has not been spotted or confirmed. However, locations impacted by this tornado include Wilmington, Ellesmere, Newcastle, Newport, Greenville, Talleyville, the Delaware Memorial Bridge, Marcus Hook. A lot of spots in this area, including I-95 between mile markers 0 and 1, and I-95 in Delaware between mile markers 11 and 23. So seek shelter now if you're in any of these areas. This storm is moving at about 15 miles an hour. It's moving relatively slowly to the east at 15 miles per hour, and you can see the storm right there. Let me pull up that tornado warning once again so you can see which spots we're looking at. And once again, this is for portions of southern Delaware and Chester counties, as well as Newcastle County in Delaware under a tornado warning. Now, what you see around the edge of it, that's severe thunderstorm warnings for all of Delaware County, much of Chester County, and surrounding this little section of Newcastle County that is currently under a tornado warning. It does include the city of Wilmington. So portions of, you can see the extreme southeastern corner of Chester County, all of southern Newcastle County in a tornado warning until 6:15. Seek shelter immediately if you're in these areas. I'm going to try to pull up our velocity signature here so we can see where the exact center of that potential tornado is. You can see the hook. Here's what I'm going to point out here. The hook right here, this is kind of what we call an inflow notch. So the areas that are right in that hook, embedded within that area, have the greatest risk of being in a tornado. And as we zoom in, you can see the areas that we're looking at right along 202. South of Chester County. So if you're crossing the border from Chester County into the state of Delaware, likely right around the Christiana Mall, right around 495, Claymont, and that very busy section of I-95 right here, in a tornado warning right now, and you can see that area is right in that hook, that inflow notch that we look at. That's where the wind flows in and starts to rotate around the center of a storm. Ukee, I know you're very familiar with this area, much so. And it's a very, very busy area this time of night as well. This time of night especially, even though many folks are supposed to be staying home, a lot of people are on the road. Some folks are coming home from work, but I know that area very, very well. But what surprised me was you were like right in your cast when you got that warning just like that. How quickly do they pop up like that? Was there any warning at all before that came up? You know, when they issued the severe thunderstorm warning, the National Weather Service puts out these warnings, and they indicated that a tornado was possible. So a lot of times if you get a severe thunderstorm warning, they're not going to mention a tornado unless there's some indication that some rotation might pop up. So we heard winds to 60 miles an hour, large hail, but also a possible tornado. So we did have some indication that a tornado was possible, but as soon as I heard that beep go go off when I was there giving the weather. I just knew something was going to happen, and certainly we clicked over and saw that tornado warning right away. So what I want to do is try to pull up the velocity here, because here's what we look at when we're trying to look for rotation within a thunderstorm. I'm going to pull up the velocity, and here is a very, very classic textbook example of what we call a couplet, a tornado couplet. So what you're looking at there, when you see an area of green embedded within an area of red, this should all be red because we're looking at winds blowing in one direction to or from the radar center. Where you see the green, that's winds blowing in an opposite direction. So that's basically showing the winds just rotating around one another. That indicates rotation. And when you see a couplet like that on radar, it's a very, very clear indication that a tornado may be taking place. You see how this whole area is red except for this one little spot, and it's right over Wilmington, Delaware right now. So I want to pull up our severe warnings once again, just so you can see which areas are included in this warning. You can see right where the green is, a tornado warning until 6:15 for parts of extreme southern Chester County, extreme southern Delaware County, but most pressing is Newcastle County, Delaware. That's where the storm is going through right now. It has a lot of lightning, and also, very dangerously, it has a lot of rain. So flash flood warnings are also in effect for this area. So you're likely not going to see a tornado. It's not going to look like, you're not going to see it. You probably won't even see the cloud rotation like we saw with Isaias. It's probably, if one does touch down, we probably won't know it until after the fact.
Speaking of that, the tropical storm earlier this week, this is like a double hit for the state of Delaware because Dover got hit hard. The Dover area got hit hard just a few days ago on Tuesday. And you're saying this system is moving about 15 miles per hour. Now that's relatively slow, isn't it?
It is slow, especially if you look back at the storms we saw with Isaias, and they were moving at 65 miles an hour. So you can really see the difference there. This is a very slow-moving storm, and that's the problem when you talk about flash flooding, because it's moving slowly. It's dumping that rain on those already swollen creeks and streams in this area. A very, very dangerous situation just based on the flooding, and now a tornado warning in that same area. And Newcastle County and Kent County, these areas had a long track tornado with Isaias, a tornado track from Dover all the way up to Middletown that was almost 30 miles in length. It did a ton of damage, and now this same area, like you said, Ukee, it's a 1-2 punch. It's getting another tornado warning and another threat for flash flooding. The Christiana River there in Delaware had flood warnings on it with Isaias, as this area got over 6 inches of rain. So once again, this is the inflow notch that we're looking at right about here, just south of Wilmington. Now I want to try to pull up that velocity once again so we can see exactly where that couplet is going as we watch this continue to move to the east at about 15 miles per hour. There it is, and again right over the Wilmington area. As we go back to our just our radar signature, our reflectivity here, we are going to try to track this and see where it's headed next. So this is moving east at about 15 miles per hour. I'm actually going to pull up our other radar here just because it's a little bit clearer as to where the storm actually is. You can see right over northern Newcastle County, that's where the center of the storm is, moving east at about 15 miles an hour. So the areas that have to be most on guard for this particular cell, this tornado warned cell over Newcastle County, southern Delaware County, and southern Chester County. Here's the timing on this. Arden by about 6:09, 6:15 Claymont, Boothwyn at about 6:20, Prospect at 6:35, Logan 6:39, and Gibbstown by about 6:53. Now, hopefully, we'll see that rotation signature decrease as this storm moves east, and hopefully it'll eventually just be a heavy thunderstorm. But right now, we have a tornado warning currently in effect for Newcastle County, Delaware. I'll pull this back up for you, and portions of southern, you can see extreme southern Delaware County. Let me get all these words off here that are blocking the screen. This is the area we're most concerned about, right in that box. Now, the good news is they have issued a severe thunderstorm warning further to the east. You can see now a severe thunderstorm warning for Salem County, for Cumberland County, for Gloucester County. It's not a tornado warning, so they have not extended the tornado warning east. But if we get towards 6:15 and this storm still has that amount of rotation with it, I think we might see that tornado warning be extended a little bit further into South Jersey. So once again, the area is most at risk right now in that red box. I think we're pulling up one of our traffic cameras here.
Yeah, that's in Wilmington, the area that you're talking about now, and you can see the water on the roads right now from those cars traveling on is that I-95, JZ? Is that I-95 in Wilmington coming through, or do you know? I'm just talking to the control room now. We don't know. We do know that is the Wilmington area, but the rain is coming down. And Kate, you mentioned the time frame, but the time right now when it comes to warnings is to take shelter, though, definitely.
Yes.
Right in the house or wherever you are.
If you're in this red box, so if you're in Claymont, if you're in Greenville, if you're in Wilmington, anywhere in this area, and you can see all the major roadways in that area, this is a big city. Wilmington, huge city in our area, and people might be headed to the Delaware beaches, people might be headed to the Jersey Shore, everybody getting out of work right now. This is a very, very dangerous situation. So the place to go would be a basement is the best option. If you don't have a basement, you want to be in an interior room away from windows, a powder room, a closet, those work really well. If you're in an apartment and you don't have an interior room, if you can get down to the lower floor by taking the stairs, I would recommend that. The lowest floor you can possibly get to away from windows is the safest place to be. If you know someone that's driving, you want to tell them possibly to get, what we often say is you want to get out of the car and get as low down as possible in a ditch. If that's not feasible, you want to pull over. You don't want to go under an underpass or an overpass, even though that sounds like that might be the safest place to be, because winds can actually accelerate as they move through an overpass like that. It's called the Venturi effect, and it could lead to more damage possibly to your car. Let me just say, I just heard a beep. Oh, it has been extended. You can see it just popped up on our Storm Scan 3 picture. Now a tornado warning now has been extended eastward into portions of New Jersey. So Woolwich Township, Pilesgrove, portions of Salem County and Gloucester County in Delaware now under a tornado warning. And let's pull up the timing on this and you can see exactly when this ends. So the one in Wilmington and southern Delaware County is until 6:15. Let me go back and delete this text for you here. And the one for now South Jersey is in effect until 6:30. So this storm has picked up a little bit of speed. It's now moving at about 25 miles per hour. It's for a tornado warning currently for Newcastle, Delaware, as well as Salem and Gloucester counties until 6:30. It looks like they've extended the tornado warning over Newcastle County as well. It doesn't expire at 6:30 anymore. Now this entire area shaded in red expires at 6:30. It originally expired at 6:15. So here's a look at the storm that is producing this threat. You can see how much lightning, and you can see from the camera we just showed you there in Wilmington just how heavy the rain is coming down. So it's not going to be one of those instances where you look out the window and say, oh my gosh, there's a tornado, I see it coming. This is going to be rain wrapped. It's not going to be visible. It's going to be one of those things where you may not know it produces damage until it does it. Do you remember when we talked to a woman in Delaware after Isaias, and she brought her kids down to the basement and didn't know that the whole side of her house was ripped off until they knocked on her door and said, are you okay? Right. She did the right thing. She got her kids out of bed. If she hadn't, that little boy's room was completely decimated. So you need to act now.
And she made mention to that. Yeah. That was unbelievable. Unbelievable.
But she did the right thing. She got the kids up, got them downstairs. It's not a time to panic. It's a time to be smart and be safe. If you're in these areas, again, Newcastle County, southern Delaware County, Gloucester and Salem counties, the eastern part of both of those counties. I'll pull this back up for you. These are the areas you need to seek shelter immediately. Again, a basement or an interior room without windows, that's the place you want to go. Here's a look at the tornado warnings that are currently in effect for our area. All around this tornado warning, we've got severe thunderstorm warnings as well. So even if you're not seeing a tornado, you probably won't see it coming until after the fact anyway, but if you're even not in that tornado warning, any spot you see shaded in that orange color, those are severe thunderstorm warnings. We hear thunder outside our building right now. And you can see South Philadelphia under a severe thunderstorm warning as well. We are not currently in Center City, but the area that I'm most concerned about, a very well-traveled area. Think of all the people headed down the shore that are traveling these roads, that are traveling the bridges from Delaware into New Jersey, that are on I-95 right now, maybe heading to the Delaware beaches, or maybe heading to
pull over
Eastern Maryland. You want to pull over. You're probably not able to see anyway because the rain is coming down at such an incredible rate. But the tornado warning has been extended. It was just one small box over Newcastle County. Now we're seeing that be extended into portions of South Jersey as well. So here's the cell we're watching. Tons of lightning with this as well. Tons of rain. Very, very damaging storm. It is mainly staying over Delaware County and Newcastle County, just crossing the border into New Jersey right now. And you can see this little notch that we look for right about here, which is the area that's likely most in line for a potential tornado right now. So as we zoom in, that's right over 95, that's right over Claymont right now. If you're on 322, even if you're in Chester or the Philadelphia airport, you're seeing very heavy rainfall right now, but the greatest threat for a tornado is right in that couplet. And we'll pull up the rotation again and see if we can see it change at all from what we saw a little bit earlier.
Okay, for our viewers at home, the little box there, we're looking at the skies over Plymouth Meeting right now. You can see those skies are dark, and we heard that thunder just a little while ago. I mean, our studios are only 25 minutes or so up 95 north from Wilmington, so we are in that region, that peripheral region, with the effects of this system that's over our area right now.
Let's see what this is. Okay, we've seen the tornado warning now continued. It goes still until 6:15 now over Newcastle County and Delaware County, 6:30 for portions of Gloucester and Salem County. So what we're looking at is this rotation signature right here. You see that area of green that's right over Wilmington, embedded within that area of red, and that shows rotation. So the area that's right about here will be kind of next in line for this storm to come through. So Kearney's Point, Oldman's, right around the Route 40 interchange with 295. And again, a very busy area. This is probably the worst possible time of day to see a storm like this come through. 5, 6 o'clock on a Friday evening in the summertime. Roads are packed. I mean, like you said, a lot of people are staying home because of the pandemic. That's a good thing. But, you know, this is likely, again, probably the worst time of day for a storm to come through, especially one of our most populated cities in the region like Wilmington. Once
again, that is the city of Wilmington, or the Wilmington area you're looking at now in the smaller box right next to Storm Scan 3. But Kate, you mentioned this hook. How important is that? Where is that right now? Or can you find that? And what's the significance of that hook area you described not too long ago?
Right. So you see how I've turned on the 3D radar imagery, and this really is a good indication of where the center of the storm is building. And you see how it has this area right here, which looks like a hook. And then this area right here is what we call kind of the inflow notch. So this is a very classic excuse me, supercell thunderstorm shape. When you see a hook like that and you see how high those clouds are building up into the atmosphere and how much lightning we have with them, this is a very clear indication that spots right along this hook area and right within this inflow notch are likely picking up the possibility for a tornado, if not a tornado. Straight line wind gusts in excess of 60, 65, even 70 miles per hour. Very, very dangerous stuff here as this system continues to push eastward. And again, that's the 3D shows that really well. You can see where that storm actually is and where it is headed next. The worst of it right now directly over Newcastle County, Delaware.
And our cameras right now is pointing at the Cirrus building in Center City, Philadelphia, to see the skies. The skies are starting to get dark in our area. We are once again about 25 minutes north or so of the action that you see right there on Storm Scan 3. But now is the time to take shelter because of this warning that came over, what, about maybe 20 minutes or so ago?
Yeah, I think it was right around 5:47 or so that this came up. So yeah, about 20 minutes ago, we saw this pop up. It has now been extended. Here are the areas next in line: Logan, Woolwich Township, East Greenwich, Mantua, Gloucester, and Washington, all likely to see this storm within the next hour or so. Now, hopefully it will start to lose at least a little bit of that rotation. I mean, a severe thunderstorm is still nothing to mess around with, but what we don't want to see is a tornado, another long track tornado like the one we had the other day with Isaias, move through this area. And again, if you see the colors on this, you can see the purples and the pinks. The storm moving through, just now crossing the border into portions of New Jersey. And again, it's that line, that purple line you see there, that is really, really scary right now. You can see the shear track. So what this is showing is if there was a tornado touchdown, the greatest likelihood of it happening would be right along that yellow line. So again, this moved right across. So what we're looking at with wind shear is the area of greatest rotation within a supercell thunderstorm. The areas shaded in yellow is likely where that shear track moved along. So if there was a tornado, it would likely be right along that yellow line you see there, right over northern Delaware from Greenville, northern Wilmington, just south of Claymont, and now moving on into portions of New Jersey. And right now, this is the current shear moving right over the bay and tracking into portions of northern Salem County right now. So these are the areas that are most at risk. The risk is starting to diminish for Newcastle County as the storm moves east. Still severe winds and very heavy rainfall, but the area you see there in that shear track, likely the area that is next in line for a possible tornado. So once again, I want to pull up that tornado warning box, and you can see how they're kind of scaling back that box over Newcastle County as the threat moves east. The box is getting smaller. So southern Chester County no longer in that tornado warning. There's a tiny piece of Delaware County just south of Chester, right along I-95, that is still in that tornado warning. And then we have eastern Newcastle County just along I-95 there, but now the threat shifting into areas along portions of western South Jersey. So Logan, Woolwich Township, Mullica Hill, East Greenwich, South Harrison, down toward Piles Grove, right along Route 40. And a lot of people take that as kind of a back way to the shore, so that could be kind of a busy spot this time of the night. And so that's what we're most concerned about. Those areas, if you're crossing the bridge here on 295, right into Salem County, that's where we're seeing the threat for, again, this possible tornado moving on through.
When you say possible, how can you tell with your professional eye and the type of equipment that you are blessed with to tell these stories? How can you tell when there is rotation of sorts?
So what we look for is any kind of radar site will have a detection of winds that are blowing toward the radar site and winds that are blowing away from the radar site. So what you can do is really like dig down in the layers of radar. So there are several layers of the radar. Let me pull up our sweeping radar and you can see what I mean. When we're looking at something like this, this is called reflectivity. So what that shows is the radar signal, the Doppler signal, bouncing off any sort of hydrometeor. What a hydrometeor is, it's a raindrop, a hailstone, a snowflake, anything like that. The larger the hydrometeor, the brighter the color is going to be. So where you see the pink and purple, that's where the heaviest rain or the largest hail is currently coming down. When you pull up another layer of the radar, it's called velocity. So when you're looking at velocity, what you want to see is all the wind blowing in the same direction toward the radar site. When you see an area of green embedded within an area of red like that, that has nothing to do with the precipitation. What it's telling you is which way the winds are blowing. And if the wind is blowing this way in one spot and this way in another spot, you can see how some rotation would begin as you build into the atmosphere. And so that's what we really look for. We look for what's called a couplet, two areas of differentiating wind flow around one another that shows rotation. When we see a signature like that on the radar, when the National Weather Service sees a signature like that on their velocity layer of their radar, that's when a tornado warning is issued. So that's what we saw, and that's how we can tell exactly where the threat is. Let me take a look. We did have the tornado warning now for Newcastle and Delaware counties has been allowed to expire. You're still going to see it on the map, but it will expire on time as of 6:15, which means the threat there is likely coming to an end, but now the threat is shifting further to the east. So if I take off this radar, once again, we can see exactly where that threat is. And again, this box right here will be allowed to expire as of 6:15 as the threat has started to move east. So the areas that we're most concerned about right now, right here over portions of Gloucester and Salem counties, right along 295, right along the New Jersey Turnpike there, right along 322 and Route 40. We are continuing to see this move east at about 25 miles an hour. And I do have to tell you, when I just pulled up that velocity signature, to me it looked a little stronger and more intense than it did even 15, 20 minutes ago. So that could be an indication that this storm is actually strengthening and not losing steam, so to speak. It's speeding up, it is strengthening, and look at all the severe thunderstorm warnings we have encompassing the entire area around this storm. So the center of it, it's a whole line of storms. The center of it has the tornado warning, but we also have a number of flash flood warnings. That's what you're seeing there in that dark burgundy color. That does include the entire city of Philadelphia. So not only do we have the threat for a tornado, we also have the threat for dangerous flash flooding that could be closing roads, could lead to high water rescues as streams and creeks are going to be breaching their banks once again, like we saw with Isaias just a few days ago.
I saw that firsthand Tuesday in Newcastle. I was right beside a creek near my neighborhood that's usually like a trickling stream, and the raging waters were unbelievable. So flash flooding, that was the first time I really experienced anything like that. They don't call it flash flooding. They call it flash flooding for a reason, because they happen just like that. I was in one area of the neighborhood and I went away for about 5 minutes. I came back, it was completely submerged. Completely submerged. It can come out of nowhere. We saw a shot from Wilmington. Jay-Z, if you can put that Wilmington shot back up, I did see a number of cars that, there we go, that have pulled off. You can see pulled off to the side. But you're saying it has moved away a little bit from this area, but it's still serious.
It has started to move into South Jersey. That, in case of a tornado, that last point there, storm exits by 4 o'clock, that was from Isaias, but the points above it remain the same. Seek shelter immediately, interior room, lower level, away from windows. Stay put until the threat ends for your area. So right now what we have is this big area right here, this red box over South Jersey and over portions of Gloucester and Salem counties. That went into effect at about 6 o'clock this evening. This storm is moving to the east at about 25 miles an hour, so it is speeding up a little bit. The areas that need to be most concerned, I'll pull up the radar once again so you can see the areas that are most in line for this storm. And actually, I want to pull it up with the 3D signature so you can see exactly where the storm is headed next. Excuse me, you can see how it's building up in the atmosphere like that. We do have another warning that just came in, another severe thunderstorm warning, continued till 6:30 for Chester, Delaware, Montgomery, and Philadelphia counties with a possible tornado. So there's that verbiage again that we saw from the National Weather Service earlier. There is right now a severe thunderstorm warning for the city of Philadelphia, but look at what's headed toward the city right now. You see how high this is built up in the atmosphere, an indication of a very, very strong storm system with strong updrafts. So that shows a good likelihood to me that it could be producing some large hail as well. That's moving toward the city of Philadelphia. So a severe thunderstorm warning for the city. Right now it's just starting to move on into Center City, but the area that we're most concerned about, again, the area right about here as this storm continues east into South Jersey, that's the spot where we are seeing some rotation. I'll pull up the velocity again so you can see what we're talking about. And again, we're looking right at that area where you can see right where I drew the line there, but you can see that green embedded within the red over portions of Salem and Gloucester counties. That's the area that's showing the most significant rotation right now. So right over the New Jersey Turnpike, right over 295, Woolwich Township next in line for this storm. Right along 322, that's where a tornado warning is currently in effect. So it is now 6:15. So we've seen the original tornado warning expire over Chester, southern Delaware, and much of Newcastle County. But that one little slice of Newcastle County, the very easternmost side of it, is still included in a tornado warning, and also portions of northern Salem County and western Gloucester County in a tornado warning until 6:30 tonight. So that's for the next 14 minutes or so. Again, I want to reiterate, if you're in that red box, seek shelter immediately, get to an interior room or a basement. You probably won't see a tornado coming, and it will be once you emerge from that safe space that you'll see if any damage was done in your area.
I'm getting a travel advisory right now, Kate, from east of Lancaster. Train 654, Amtrak is letting us know this. Train 654 has stopped on the track simply because there is a tree. There is a tree on the tracks. Now, I'm not sure if that's from the wind or from the other storms where the ground is so saturated, some of these older trees will just come down. As simple as that, and very easily. But right now, we're getting word that train 654 from Amtrak east of Lancaster has stopped on the tracks because they just simply can't get by. There's a tree on the tracks.
And that's going to be the case, you know, you're hearing that with the public transit, but lots of roads, I bet, are going to be closed. Trees are going to be downed again. People that may have just gotten their power back are likely going to lose it again, because even if you don't have the winds, all this heavy rain, it's not going to take much more than a breath of wind to knock some of these trees and tree branches over, because the ground is so saturated, and we're getting another 2-3 inches of rain as this storm moves east. So timing this out, we're looking at the airport right around now. The storm moving over the airport. Center City, Philadelphia, just before 6:30 is when the worst will be in Center City. Cherry Hill by about 6:44, Washington Township by 6:52, Evesham 7:01, Medford 7:11, and Winslow at about 7:31 this evening. But again, let's pull up the areas under a tornado warning, because these are the areas we are most concerned with right now that could be seeing some life-threatening damage as this storm moves through. We have seen a very strong rotation signature on the radar imagery. If you are in this red box, again, we'll pull up some town names here: Penns Grove, Carneys Point, Beckett, Oldmans, Logan, East Greenwich, Paulsboro, down toward Mullica Hill, right along Route 40, South Harrison, Piles Grove, any of these areas all the way down toward Upper Pittsgrove, where 40 meets 77, you're going to be seeing the threat for a tornado. And again, life-threatening damage is possible. We know that this is something to take seriously, because we had 6 tornadoes in our region just on Tuesday, and now the threat has returned over portions of Newcastle County, which just saw a long track tornado, an EF1 tornado. We just got word that on Tuesday we also had an EF2 tornado that moved from northeast Philly to Doylestown and damaged the Children's Hospital daycare wing there. Now another tornado warning in effect as a slow-moving heavy band of storms moves through. And even though the tornado is the most dangerous part of this storm, I also don't want to downplay the flash flood threat, because flash flooding is incredibly dangerous and life-threatening if people are driving through floodwaters. We've seen a lot of video of these high water rescues and people stranded in their cars. We had reports of, sadly, a couple of people swept away by high waters just from Isaias, and this is coming on the heels of that incredibly heavy rain event. Now seeing another 2, 3, maybe even 4 inches of rain added to that with this rain, and that again will pose the risk for life-threatening situations on roadways all across the area. So once again, tornado warning until 6:30 this evening. That goes for about the next 10 minutes. You can see the severe thunderstorm warning surrounding it. So that one area embedded in the middle where you see the red is our tornado warning. Almost the rest of the entire area right now is encompassed by a severe thunderstorm warning, and here is the cell we're watching. Again, you can see it has a very classic supercell shape to it. There's that hook. And right here, we're likely going to be seeing some very damaging straight line winds as that line moves through. Hopefully, we'll start to see the end of the rotation signature, and we'll see just straight line winds. But I don't also want to, you know, downgrade straight line winds as well, because that can be sometimes just as dangerous as a tornado.
Same speed still? Is it still roughly 15 or so?
You know, it has sped up a little bit. It's about 25 miles an hour
25 now. Okay.
So it has sped up a little bit. Let's see what that latest update, if you can hear the beeping, that's what I'm listening for. So we've continued the tornado warning until 6:30. It's right over Beckett right now, 8 miles east of Wilmington. It has slowed down again, moving east at about 15 miles per hour again. So it was 25, now it's back to 15. This is, again, the cell we're looking at. Let me pull up the 3D here. And here's another way to look at it as well. We can start to see where exactly that rotation signature is. If I can move this around, we can kind of move around the storm. So this is a 3D velocity. So you can kind of see how those winds aloft, where you see the green moving in a different direction than the winds at the surface, that's where you see the red. This is a little bit inside baseball here, but again, that's what we're looking at. We're looking at winds moving in different directions, and if I pull up the actual radar, the cloud heights as the storm builds in the atmosphere is really going to show us where the worst of it is. So let's rotate this back around so we can get ourselves oriented, and you can see where this storm actually is. It's right over, there's Philadelphia, there's South Jersey, so you can see where the highest heights are right there as it moves into South Jersey, and you can see it's really pushing into Center City right now. But it's this area that we're looking at, the area right about here, that has the greatest threat for some rotation. We've been seeing that velocity signature, that couplet, those areas of winds moving in different directions as the storm builds up in the atmosphere. So tornadoes need 2 types of shear to get going. They need directional shear at the surface, and they need speed shear, which means the winds increase in speed as you go up in the atmosphere as well. It takes both of those to form. What we're seeing is that directional shear at the surface, showing the winds moving in opposite directions and clearly showing where that rotation is happening.
We're looking at Plymouth meeting right now, and the last time we took this shot, we actually could see maybe some structures in there. I see lightning. Just happened right now, and now we are hearing.
Yeah, we're hearing
seconds
it as well.
ago. We're hearing thunder over our buildings, and this is Center City, Philadelphia, where we are located. But about 10, 12 minutes or so, maybe 15 minutes ago, you felt things were strengthening a little bit. You still have that vibe?
It does look like it's probably at least maintaining its strength as it moves into South Jersey. You can see what we look for when we look at a supercell thunderstorm like this is that comma shape, and you can see this has a very well-defined comma shape, with this line right here likely producing the threat for damaging straight line winds, and the line further to the north where we see a little bit more of that inflow notch. What an inflow notch is where winds blow into the actual thunderstorm and then start wrapping around as the rotation happens. That's the area that has the greatest risk for a tornado. So as I zoom in here, I want to see if we can still see where that inflow notch is, and it looks like it maybe has broken down a little bit, but the area that I'm concerned about right now is right about here. So you can see how there's just that little notch on the radar, and that's the area that likely is in the greatest likelihood for a tornado right now. So as we zoom in, that puts us right over Woolwich Township, that puts us right over the New Jersey Turnpike, right around East Greenwich, and headed very quickly toward Mullica Hill. Let's track this once again so you can see where it is headed next. And you can see the shape of it. It's moving east at about, actually I have to change the speed again, 15 miles an hour. It has slowed down once again. And that's the difference between this storm and what we saw with Isaias. Those storms were moving at about 65 miles an hour. So the greatest threat was those winds were at least 65 miles an hour. With this one, the greatest threat was the flash flooding, but now we've started to see some rotation in there as well.
You showed us how it's moving east right now. We just, there's the picture right now going south. That's Cape May, and look at the difference. Look at the difference now.
Totally different. And we just talked about how they have fireworks scheduled in Wildwood. You know, that's where these storms are headed eventually next. Let's pull up the short-term modeling to show where this is going, and you can see as we go through the next several hours, this is going to be moving very slowly to the south and east. So again, this is probably a little slow. The storms are, this model has them in where they are now at about 8 o'clock. It's moving a little faster than that, but the storms down the shore by about 9, 10, maybe 11 o'clock, right around the time of the fireworks show. So it looks to me like that's not going to happen. Hopefully they will not be quite as severe by the time they get into that area, but that's what we're looking at as far as those storms are concerned. And again, a tornado warning in effect right now for portions of eastern Newcastle County, but more importantly, Salem and Gloucester counties right now. And if you're in these areas, head down to lowest level of your home, stay away from windows, seek shelter. A basement is best, but an interior room, a powder room, a crawl space, anything like that is also a good place to go if you're in this area. And again, it's the area that's encompassed within this red box. It has been scaled down now, so Newcastle County no longer included in that tornado warning. The areas that are included: Woolwich, East Greenwich, Mullica Hill, South Harrison, Piles Grove, and even a little bit further east as you get toward the intersection of 40 and 77. That's the area that's in that tornado warning as we speak. But the entire region in those yellow boxes under a severe thunderstorm warning as well, and we still have flash flood warnings just about everywhere, including the city of Philadelphia. We saw some devastating flooding along the Darby Creek from Isaias. This is another creek that's in a flash flood warning right now. The East Brandywine, the Perkiomen Creek, possibly even the Schuylkill River, depending on how much more rain we get, could see another round of flooding with that as we go through the rest of tonight.
Just a reminder to our viewers, our time is now 6:26, and we're going to stay on the air but move to CBS and Philly in just a matter of minutes, and then we will join our network news right at 6:30. But for right now, you're watching special coverage of this tornado warning in our area, in our skies, and Kate Bilo has been taking you through this for what? It's been almost like close to 45 minutes now.
Yeah, close to 45 minutes. This tornado warning that we currently have is set to expire at 6:30. I do not know at this point if they're going to extend it or if they're going to downgrade it to just a severe thunderstorm warning. That remains to be seen. That's not a decision that I can make. That's only a decision the National Weather Service can make. But let's take a look and see if we can see any lessening up of that shear, of that velocity. So again, here's what we're looking at. Let's put on the sweeping radar, and I'll take off the lightning so it's a little easier to see. There's the storm we're looking at, and again, the pink and purple, this is the reflectivity layer, so that's showing heavy precipitation. So embedded within that pink and purple, either very intense rainfall, definitely very intense rainfall, but also if I pull up our hail layer, we likely, where you see that purple there, that's where hail is likely occurring right now, right again around Woolwich Township. So that's the area that's getting hit hardest as we speak. And if we pull up our velocity, we'll see if we still have any indication. You can see still have that couplet there, that green embedded within the red, and it's right over Woolwich Township as we speak. So this is the area that is likely in the greatest threat zone right now as this storm moves east at about 25 miles per hour, right along the New Jersey Turnpike, a very busy roadway this time of day, especially this time of the week, Friday afternoon. People may have left work and said, you know what, let's try to make it to the shore before the storms get in. You may be getting stranded on one of these roadways, the New Jersey Turnpike, Route 40 as well. and even a little further east. We could see this storm continue to move east. Hopefully the tornado threat will diminish, but the severe thunderstorm risk will likely not diminish as quickly. So we could be seeing damaging wind and hail right through tonight, as well as the very heavy rainfall. And you can see as we look live at Center City, Philadelphia right now, we're looking at Spring Garden where it intersects Broad Street, and it is coming down very heavily. We've been hearing rumbles of thunder outside of our studio, and this storm is coming through Center City right now, but it's not quite as dangerous as it is just a little bit further to the south.
Speaking of rumbling, our viewers are checking in with us as well. April is saying she hears rumbling outside and it's gray. She's in Mount Laurel. Ramondo tells me it's pouring in Bear, Delaware right now, whereas Vernice tells me the sun is shining in Wildwood, New Jersey. So depending on where you are, you're going to have the effects of different parts of this system that's rolling through our area.
Right, and it's just this one cell that has started to spin just enough to take on the threat for a tornado, and you can see the shape of that hook moving right through portions of Salem and Gloucester counties. That's the area that's seeing the worst of the impacts of this particular storm right now. That's the area that is still under a tornado warning as we speak. So it's a very small box that's still in a tornado warning. Hopefully this will expire as of 6:30. It is set to expire as of 6:30. That's in about 2 minutes. We will keep you posted on that. But again, all around this area of storms, we've got severe thunderstorm warnings, so wind gusts in excess of 60 miles an hour, hail over 3/4 of an inch in diameter, still a threat, and the flash flooding. Look at all these flash flood warnings we have in effect, including in the city of Philadelphia, in effect as dangerous flash flooding continues in our region, Ukee.
And Kate, we're going to join the CBS Evening News with Nora O'Donnell. Our coverage continues on CBSN Philly.